Yeah, Discord's trying to take on Patreon.
Oh, we're live.
Oh,
that happened faster than I thought it was going to.
I mean, a minute 10 is
Flawless
pretty
start,
quick.
everybody.
That went by
Good
quick. I
job.
saw the screen just go bam. And then-
We in it now.
Mm-hmm.
good thing I
We'll
didn't
figure
say
this
any.
out.
yeah, good thing you didn't open up any box of worms, like
There's no out of
your feelings on
content
orange juice
here. Oh no.
God
and nothing
damn it.
else.
Oh no.
How the juice did nothing wrong, except
Orange
be
juice gets a lot of
delicious.
flack for being pulpy. Let's just
Listen,
say.
if the glove did not
Get
fit,
the fuck out of here.
Welcome to episode 7 of the Reclaimers, everybody. We're your ragtag bunch of space explorers heading into a D&D world with 0.5% less D&D. Why don't we go around the horn? 0.5% less. We hope that the 0.5% less pulp is to your satisfaction. Why don't we go around the horn and tell everybody who we are, who we're playing, as a reminder for those who are joining us after the holiday break. Starting with Noir.
Hi, everybody. I'm Noir. You can find me all over the internet as the Noir Enigma. That's Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I take part in a number of programs, but I like to use this time to tell you my in-depth thoughts about the 1994 trial of O.J. Simpson.
Hey, thanks. Moving on over to Sarah.
Hi, hello there. I'm Sarah Franco. I've never had a politically charged opinion in my entire life. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok at Franco. Today I'm playing Etienne Durand, our reforged paladin.
Subjugating a Mormon past. Moving on over to Ashen Rabbit.
Hey, that's me. I'm Asher Ashen Rabbit, as you can find me here on Twitch and all over the internet. Today and every time we play the Reclaimers, I play Yvain Nui, and I am here.
Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh, and to keep things spicy, let's now have a brief discussion about dialectical materialism.
Oh my god.
Or failing that, we could just play some generic role-playing game.
Cool.
Sure.
I'm just saying that certain accessories don't fit over the hands of the incriminated.
Don't worry, anyone. Josh is not the kind of person who would fit a political agenda into his D&D game by any means necessary. But if you're here, you already know who I am. I'm Bright Dystopia. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here. Josh, why don't we just dive right into your agenda now and just take it away?
Yeah, so last time we explored the merits of public transit, and we went to space. And now you're in space. To recap the scene, you are in a cold metal room. It's dark. Outside a sort of view screen wall, you see the only world you've ever known, Ismene, far below. Some other much larger worlds coming into view. But presently there has been the noise of ruckus outside in the hallway. And you heard a voice loudly shout through the door and declare, "Identify yourselves in the name of the Archon." And that's where we ended last time.
Aloy? Who said that? Thank you. Show yourself. Please.
There's not an immediate response, but you can hear people sort of shuffling and adjusting, and it sounds like there's a good number of them out there.
Oh boy. I would like to attempt to hide.
Okay. There's like inside this room is it's almost entirely, well, it's not entirely empty. There are some crates and some old tarps and cast off things off into the sides of the room, and then there's the sort of command console in the center, and then there's the portal in the back. So you could try to like get behind some old boxes and stuff and hide back there if you wanted.
All right, so I just rolled. That's a 28 to sell.
Okay. That's pretty good. Anybody else going to take any reactions as the in the moments before things happen?
Technically, since I can hide as a bonus action, I'd like to hold my action to attack if I see things start to get squirrely.
Sure.
I think Etienne's response to the voice would be he would have a hand on the pommel of his sword, and following Cass's very contrite, like, hello, yes, he would look between the party members before announcing himself. I'm Etienne Durand, and I would know who I am speaking with, in the name of the Archon or not.
And real quick, I should have clarified this. What language are you speaking?
The language we heard it in. So if we're hearing it, I forget the name of the language.
Drax.
That's going to cost you some points.
Drax. Hey, yeah. Let me do it. What I need to do? Drax. If
No,
that's
I'm
how
just,
I
I'm
would.
just saying like that. It costs you some brownie points. Forget it.
Oh, I hear what you're saying.
Anytime I make something up and you forget it, that costs you
Okay,
points.
you know what? Fair as hell. I'm the note taker. I should have remembered.
You really should've.
I really should have.
We're
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
so
language is
in-
Drax, yeah.
So yeah, in Drax, Etienne would have called this out.
And that is what they were speaking. So
Perfect.
Wait, you speak Drax? Like, do we all speak Drax now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
remember we
Drax
took those
now.
pills.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Take
We
these
like
pills.
matrixed our way into like knowing it as if it was a memory.
Don't you remember, Noir? We took
Right.
Draxatives.
God.
God damn it!
Damn it, Bright.
that's worth some points. You go up a little bit in the rankings.
We got him back. We got him back.
Ah.
Well, no, they're individual. You're all competing against each other.
Can I loan some
Oh,
to Sarah
fuck.
to like? 'cause-
Yeah, at the end of the game, we're going to see who comes out in first place.
Can I ask?
Um,
Can I ask the dumbest question?
Absolutely.
We're level 9, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hell
cool.
yeah.
Who am I? What is this?
What year is it?
Where?
Yeah, so Etienne just yells at this door his own name and a
Mhm.
mild insult. Just being like, I don't give a shit about the Archon.
Right.
And then we'll probably turn to Evane to see what homegirl's up to.
I think she's just equally confused and startled, and would kind of nod towards Etienne. Yes, Yvain Nui here. Sorry, any answer would be great. Thank you.
I'm Casimir, and this is I'm Casimir.
Who are you?
Can't see him. He hid.
So there is everybody make an Arcana check.
Oh hell,
I'm not very good at those.
Fuck.
I'm pretty great at them. Hell yeah.
I got a fucking 19. Get the fuck out. I'm great at it.
I got a 17.
Nice. I got a
24.
Nice. Also, I did not do well. I got a 12.
Everybody except for Yvain.
Fuck.
Oh jeez.
You have the immediate sensation that you are being watched from right behind your shoulder. Like as if someone was right behind you and just standing a little bit too close, and it's kind of uncomfortable, and you just sort of want to move away. You all have that sensation.
Are there chairs here?
Nope.
There's like a center console though, right? Like with.
Yeah, it's not very big. I mean, it's like a.
I'm gonna walk towards the center console without turning around. I'm just gonna take a few steps towards that center console,
Mhm.
and then like slowly turn around and sit on the ledge of it, put my hands over my knee as if like I knew you were there. I'm just going to look at you now.
Okay. Nothing there.
Do I see anyone there?
No. I'll see a thing.
Etienne's eyes will flash because we were walking towards the door when this happened, correct?
Mm-hmm.
He will turn towards the door and just call out, "It seems you have the tactical advantage that we lack. You can see us just fine. How about you be introducing yourselves now?"
the door opens, and when it opens, it's just this big metal. It seemed to be this big metal plate, and when it opens, it suddenly reveals to be made of a lot of little like slices that all kind of rotate up and out and kind of iris open. And you don't see anything beyond. It's just a dark metal hallway.
If I could, I would like to use my eye for detail ability to do a perception check to spot hidden creatures or objects.
Sure. Where are you looking specifically?
Just I'd imagine I hid somewhere with my back to the wall, so just everything in front of me.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and do ourselves a perception. Okay, that's 29.
So one thing that you do notice is that so the ceiling to this room is it's a series of it's almost an organic looking structure, almost like the inside of a shell, and there's sort of like several protrusions that kind of radiate like from the center of the room. They kind of radiate out, and they're sort of equally sized. And you didn't think anything of it when you came in, that the room you came from below was similar. You assume this is just part of how the whole thing works. But now you've noticed that there are these little smaller bumps regularly placed around in the ceiling, and they're just these sort of like smooth black semicircles. And what you notice is that periodically there are just the briefest, tiniest little flickers of light coming from inside some of them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hold on to that attack until something happens.
And I'll give you an intelligence check.
Ooh, I like those, even though I'm not extraordinarily smart. 15.
15. So at first you thought you'd never seen anything quite like that before, but then you remembered there was one time when you took a job, and it was pretty much the worst job you ever took back in New Diamond. It was shall we say a repossession assignment, and it was supposed to be simple, and it wasn't, and it ended up involving sneaking into a compound that was in some way associated with the Wisdoms. You were never quite clear on the details, but the reason the job went south is because there were these little bumps on the walls and on the ceiling, and it seemed like somehow the people who were in charge of that place were able to see what was happening or whatever happened in front of those little bumps. So you put together that these are somehow some kind of perceiving devices.
And how many of those do I see in the room?
There are 5 on the ceiling, and there are 15 of those sort of like larger sort of curved bits in the ceiling. So every 3 there's one of these. It's all very regular.
All right, so for whichever one I feel is angled that can see me, I'd like to take a shot at it.
Okay.
All right, here we go. That is a 23 to hit.
You hit it. The arrow bounces off and breaks.
Yeah.
Ah. There you are.
Everyone else sees Virgil shoot the ceiling.
I'm gonna touch the floor here. Like,
okay, it's like a metal grating, and beneath the metal grating, it's the same kind of structure as the ceiling, where it's that sort of varying, sort of smooth surfaces, kind of flowing outward in the same concentric pattern.
Virgil, I think you're gonna have trouble here. Everything is made of armor.
Seems that way.
At this point, Keening leans over and whispers into Yvain's ear, "You are being scryed."
You know, I do kind of get that feeling. Okay, thank you very much for that insight. We are being watched right now, by the way, everybody.
Yes, and I hate it.
Wait, you know that?
Yes, that's what those are. And he's gonna point to the orbs.
Weird scrying orbs. Okay. Great. Hello. Hi.
Why are we being so welcoming and trying to?
It's purely out of confusion, I assure you.
Because we don't know what this is, Virgil, and we could be inside of it.
Yeah, and I'd much rather find my way out of it. So if it's all the same to all of you, he's gonna pull out his mirror and cast major image. And the major image is just this room without us in it.
Oh. That's fun.
So you try to do that,
Curses!
and what happens instead is there is a sudden jolt of energy from the mirror that then shoots back into your arm and throws you back, and the mirror goes clattering onto the ground, and your entire arm is numb and you can't move it.
I hate it here.
Etienne, like seeing this happen, his grip is going to tighten on the pommel of his sword as he now turns to these weird orbs on the ceiling. And he'll tilt his head to the side. You asked for an introduction, we gave it. Common courtesy would dictate you do the same. We've not done anything but try to protect ourselves in this strange place.
I'm gonna go pick up my mirror.
And for the record, your feeling comes back to your arm, and it's, in a minute or so you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's my shooting arm though, so now I'm pissed off.
Anything but the shooting arm.
And it's a bow. You kind of need them both.
Yeah, but this was my favorite arm though.
Y'all know your favorite.
We've all got one. So there is still no answer. But I will give you all a perception check.
I'm not very good at those. Come on, buddy.
I get advantage on those.
17.
Oh, 14. Shit.
18.
$17.
Winners.
Hear anything?
Etienne's gonna start moving forward then. Through this door that's opened. I'll turn to the rest of the group, offer a shrug with the one hand out. There's nothing for it. If they mean us ill, it doesn't matter if we're here or elsewhere. I'm going to press on. And
So
I'll
you're
start moving.
approaching the
Yeah.
door? Okay.
I'm approaching the weird door. It opened in all those different parts. Maybe a little bit. For the more perceptive of the party, you'll notice that he is not comfortable doing so, but he's gritting his teeth and bearing it, sort of a thing.
When you get about 3 meters or so from the door, you walk into an invisible wall. So you hit something that isn't there, and out of the darkness, you hear a voice, and it's strangely pitched and discordant and weirdly sort of deadened in the air. And it says, "Halt." And you have to make a charisma save.
Shit.
Oh, come on. Okay, that's not so bad.
Is that everybody or just?
Just at
That's a fucking 22. Let's go.
So you can feel the word kind of seeping its way inside of you, worming its way inside, snaking in there. I mean, it's almost the tangible sensation of like little lines of silk being run through your head, but you're able to shake it off and resist any kind of influence.
I have the spell command. Would I recognize if that was like the same kind of thing?
This, yes and no, because command is very obvious. There's and this, although the voice sounded strange, like when someone does command, it's like even a peasant can tell that it's magic. It just there's signs, and this sounded like someone who sounded kind of weird, but it would have been easy to miss that this was somehow magical. Even
perhaps something more sophisticated with a similar outcome is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
I think when that happens, Etienne will draw his sword, not completely, maybe a couple of inches out of his scabbard, and in a low, angry voice, I do not answer to those who will not tell me their names.
And the voice says again, it speaks again, and this time a little more normal, but still a pretty deep voice, kind of strangely inflected, says, "You can call me Memory." And I will give you, what kind of knowledge would this be? I'm always thinking of like older versions of D&D where I know where this would be. Let's just call it an intelligence check.
It couldn't be history.
And everybody can make this intelligence check because you're all hearing the voice.
Okay. Oh my god, I'm rolling so good. That's an 18, buddy.
We're not going to talk about what I rolled. I didn't roll. It didn't happen. It just didn't exist. That's what happened.
I rolled a 17.
Cass?
What's the thing we're rolling here?
Intelligence.
Just flat intelligence. Got it. 6.
Okay. You keep doing you, buddy.
Yeah.
So Virgil and Etienne realize that the voice that is speaking is the voice of a drake. Do you remember drakes? There were a bunch of them around last time. Although you don't see anybody, and the voice sounds like it's coming from directly outside the door. Actually, I will give the two of you perception checks again, this time with advantage.
Oh.
Because now you're pretty sure you know where the person speaking is, so you can.
I'm fairly certain I got it. That's a nat 20, and my perception is plus 10, so 30.
Damn.
Well, the first one was a 3, and the second one was a 6. So Virgil is carrying us in this moment.
So Virgil, what you notice is outside of the doorway against the back wall there are just some very faint, very fine distortions and inconsistencies where it's almost as if bits of the wall are moving or not where they're supposed to be. There's a kind of distortion as if light is being somehow bent and, well, distorted is really the word.
So it's looking like there's somebody invisible in here.
Maybe not invisible, because invisibility is invisible.
Right.
This, it's as if there is some effect that is concealing the person, and you've kind of figured out the little signs that betray it.
I'm gonna walk to the edge of where the force wall is,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just going to lean up real close and go, "I see you."
You see nothing, but something as though a hand presses onto your chest and pushes back just hard enough so that you'd feel it and might have to take a half step backwards. It's not violent, but it's a pretty firm little push.
I'm very sorry. I would like, as soon as I feel something on the chest, I'm just swiping at it with the dagger.
Okay. You hit a wall of force. Or if you step back farther, you go through the air.
So we can play at this all day, or you can tell us what you want. Eventually, I'm going to put an arrow between your eye if you keep playing with me.
There is a very soft but deep chuckle from the doorway.
Just gonna knock another arrow and just sit and wait.
Etienne at this point, I think, would sigh and let his sword slip back into the scabbard before turning to where Virgil's kind of been having this confrontation. I said it before, I'll say it again. My name is Etienne Durand of the city Eudaimon. We're here seeking aid for the people of the surface and to understand our place in this world. You sound like a drake, someone we've encountered on the surface below. We would come to you as friend if you would allow it. But I cannot understand what I cannot see. Please.
I'll give everybody an intelligence check.
I'm not a very smart boy.
Oops, that's wisdom. Wrong.
I rolled a 3.
17.
Nice.
16 also.
Okay. So everybody except for Etienne. Sorry, buddy.
It's okay. I knew it wasn't gonna last forever.
Remembers that the drakes that you met before didn't call it Eudaimon. They called the city Whitefall.
Sorry. Just chiming in now, because I've just realized what's happening. Eudaimon is where we're from, but that's what it's called now. Your friends downstairs, as he peeks out the big viewing glass where we can see our home planet. Your friends downstairs called it Whitefall.
That does prompt an audible from the voice. And then
yes.
it starts speaking in a language you don't know. And in fact, a language that none of you ever heard before. But on Yvain's shoulder, all of a sudden, Keening's little talons dig in. And she stiffens at the sound.
Okay, you're gonna tell us what that means, right? Please, Keening.
She leans over and whispers and says, he asks his master what she wishes him to do.
Interesting. Just based off of that information.
And then she says, at least I think that's what he's saying. I haven't heard that language in a very long time.
Right. That's okay. It's more than any of us know, so thank you.
She's kind of grabbing tight so that she can lean forward, and she's staring straight ahead. So out of your peripheral vision, you just see her sticking right past you,
Mm-mm.
very intent. You don't hear a response from anyone else, but then the voice says something again, and then Keening leans in closer, and then kind of straightens back, and it's all the tension sort of fades out of her. And she says, Ancestors' grace, they're trying to get the lights on. They can't figure out how to make them. Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
What do you mean trying to get the lights on? In here?
In here,
They don't know.
they're trying to turn the lights on so they can see who you all are. I don't think they're terribly familiar with this place.
Do we all hear this? Or
Yeah.
is it just loud
Yeah.
enough for Yvain?
No, at this point, she's speaking in common and speaking loud enough for everyone to hear her.
I glance on to the console that I've been like kind of sitting on or leaning against.
Mhm.
Is there like anything? I'm sure this is all written in Drax, right?
It's a bunch of buttons with no markings whatsoever.
I'm gonna look for a blue one, and I'm gonna push it. I'm just gonna start pushing.
They are all equally gray.
Oh, well then I'll start pushing gray buttons until a light comes on.
The whole thing explodes. You all die.
I'll just idly press one and wait, and then press another one and wait.
Keening is now staring at you and says, "Don't do that."
You said they were looking for the lights. I'm just trying to find the lights. I press another button.
And at that exact moment, the room is suddenly full of light and shining so suddenly bright. You all have to close your eyes against it, and you have to kind of blink. It's suddenly like noon bright in here. It's painfully bright in here. As all these lights suddenly just flash a light. And you don't see any candles, you don't see any runes or glyphs like they have back in Eudaimon. All of a sudden the room is just full of light.
I press that same button again.
The light is still here.
Is there a dimmer switch or anything on here?
You hear heavy footsteps coming in the door and stopping maybe a few paces inside. And that same Drakish voice says again, "No sudden moves."
I just lift one finger, and I don't push the button, but I place it on the button that I pushed to turn the lights on. And I'd like to cast Prestidigitation to put just like a little sun on the button and mark it.
Your whole hand goes numb.
Oh, hell. I'm gonna try again. Nope, come on.
Now you're numb up to your elbow.
You can do this. And try one more time.
You're numb up to your shoulder.
You don't tell me what to do. And I'm trying again.
Virgil is laughing his ass off.
So at this point, Casimir falls to the ground very hard and is unconscious, and hits the metal grating quite forcefully, as if he just suddenly lost consciousness and slammed to the ground.
Etienne draws his sword.
Excellent.
I don't know what the fuck just happened.
Is anyone gonna go? Does anyone go over to Cass?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, Etienne's at the door, sword drawn, ready to fight whatever the fuck comes through these doors. Like, seemingly we've been put in a weird box. We're being scried, and they're trying to take us out one by one. That's what Etienne's thinking.
Yeah, Ash.
His boy just dropped.
Give me a medicine. Excuse me, Yvain, give me medicine.
Okay. 22.
Yeah, his heart's not beating.
Look. Okay. Immediately gonna try and use the cantrip Spare the Dying.
Yeah.
Does she let us know that his heart's not beating?
Did you say anything, or did you just immediately?
just
Immediately
screamed
cast.
and just like immediately tried to do something.
I would like to run over.
So here's what happens. There is a jolt of feedback, and both of your hands go numb, but that jolt also hits Cass, and he suddenly jerks awake on the ground.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Where's the button?
You're alive. Again. Hi. Hello.
Hi,
Oh.
the button. Is it
What
marked?
about it? There's
Is
nothing.
the button marked with a light symbol?
By the gods,
Tell
there's
me
nothing there. Cass, stop it. You were dead for this long, but you still stop. Stop it.
Did we win?
Quiet.
Yes, buddy. We beat them all.
Fucking hell.
He just rests his head on the ground and just like breathes slowly.
Meanwhile,
Nice.
two figures wearing head-to-toe golden plate armor walk through the door and stand on either side of it. And then to follow them is an elven woman wearing a floor-length white dress. Fairly light fabric is kind of billowy behind her. She's got very long hair that's put up in an elaborate updo. And she is wearing a medallion around her neck. It's a silver chain with a golden medallion that is, you all now recognize, the symbol of the Beckoners, the symbol of the Archon, the 5-pointed star inscribed inside a circle. And catching sight of all of you, if anything, she looks surprised, as if she was not expecting one of you to be on the ground in apparent distress, with another one kneeling over him, looking down very confusedly at her hands, with a very brightly colored bird on her shoulder. But that is the presentation you all offer. The figures in the golden armor are both carrying halberds. And as they're standing there, a drake materializes into view, standing just off to the side of one of the figures in armor. And it is a drake who is completely naked. For what it's worth, drakes don't have visible external genitalia. They're basically just covered in scales and armor plates.
No donging, I take it.
And in this case, this drake, as he's standing there, you will notice that even while he's just kind of standing there, arms crossed, just kind of leaning back against the wall, that while every other drake you've ever seen has had like red or black or bronze or gold colored scales, this guy's scales are kind of clear, and without him even doing anything, they just sort of assume the color of what's behind him.
Time out. I have a question. We found that sword with the clear gem.
Yeah, you gave it to the people down below.
Correct. Is there any sort of semblance to that?
No. So
Okay.
that gem, especially when it was compared to the other swords, it was very clearly an absence. It was like empty.
Gotcha.
And
And this just is the way this person is.
Yeah, this guy clearly just has like as in there's like red drakes and gold drakes and whatever. This guy is some kind of weird chameleon drake.
Gotcha.
So those three are standing there. The woman looks you over, and then in very crisply accented and formalized Drax, which you all recognize it as such now because of your false inserted memory lessons of Drax lessons.
Drax lives.
Lessons of Drax. She says, "My name is Xanthopy, and I welcome you to this accursed place, such as it is."
Can I get a spelling on Xanthopy?
Well, it's spelled exactly the same way the real life Xanthopy was, but I'm guessing it doesn't help you. I'll
It
put
does
in,
not. Thank
put it in
you.
chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it XANTHOPE?
It's in the Discord.
XANTHIPPE.
Jeez, I was so wrong. I was so god damn it.
Those playing the home game, the wife of Socrates.
I knew that.
I fucking did it.
When she says the name Yvain, you will notice you have spent enough time with Keening to pick up her various kinds of gestures. And there is a particular kind of ruffling of her feathers that is sort of her equivalent of an eye roll. And that is the response that she gives upon hearing that name.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Hello. Sorry, no hands. Hi. Nice to meet you, I guess. What is this? Where is this? Where are we? What are we doing? What are you doing
She's-
here?
Looking you over, she says, You came here, but you didn't know where you were going. That doesn't bode well.
We are headed to the garden.
Well, then you've arrived. Part of it, anyway.
But not on Ismini.
Why are you
Quite well above it, in fact.
Right? So then how is this the garden?
I'm not sure I understand.
Neither do I. We have that in common.
Map. Show them the map.
Map. Yes. Who's got that? Shit, do I have that? Virgil, do you have that?
To hell with the map. Why are you restraining us?
I have done nothing to you.
I'm gonna walk over to the force wall, see if it's still there.
It's not.
Then we'll be on our way then. He's gonna try and walk through the door.
The two guys with halberds will sort of cross them in front of Xanthopy, and the Drake leaning up against the wall will be like, wouldn't advise that, friend. Think you ought to hear the lady out.
Okay.
Etienne will turn and look at Xanthopy. Why would you stop us? What purpose do you have?
We'd stop you because you are the first new arrivals to this place in, well, I don't even know how long. And, well, let's just say we have good reason to be suspicious.
And what reasons would that be? We offered no harm. Sure, we had come prepared for battle and with weapons, but I feel surely you understand that traveling in these times requires such necessity.
I'm afraid I know little of your times and even less of your travels. I can only speak to the experience of my own. Again, we have good reason to be suspicious. Our enemy has given us no shortage of reasons.
And who will be your enemy? Perhaps it is the same as ours.
He goes by many names.
Would the gardener be one?
She raises a hand and kind of just waves it slowly over you. And she turns to the Drake and she speaks in that language again. And he answers in Drax. And he says, no, my lady, their auras are clean. They speak true. She says something else to him. And he again answers in Drax. No, I thought they were all wiped out. I'm as shocked to see it as you are. She looks over you all again and says, I can tell you this. The gardener is your enemy, and you'll find friends in us. And I think the simplest and straightest route to sense would just be to show you. So if you'll follow us, we'll take you to the surface.
Praise be. And Etienne will give a short bow before gesturing to the door.
Xanthopy will turn and walk out, and the heavily armored dudes go right behind her. The Drake lingers off to the side, kind of looking at you all, kind of having sort of a half grin on his face, sort of gestures. After you, please.
Oi, chappy. Give us a hand.
He goes like this, and it's as if a pair of really big, strong hands grabbed you and picks you up.
Oh,
And stands you on your feet.
that's a fine hand you do.
I'm gonna linger back to try and be the last one with this Drake guy.
He's clearly going to wait till all of you go, and then he's going to go be the last one out.
Yeah, so I figured he was gonna be the last one out, so I wanna hang back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do that. That's fine.
As Casimir like limps by and like passes in between Virgil and the big guy, he's just gonna kind of do one of these. Excuse me.
Once it's kind of like just him and this dude in
Mhm.
the room, Virgil's gonna ask him, okay, what's your connection to the Archon?
I just wonder why it is you would ask.
I'm gonna show him the tattoo of the symbol of the Beckoners.
Another lost soul. Lovely. The only thing, I'll give you a piece of advice, friend. Don't waste your time thinking about the great rulers and the mighty women of the past. You're looking for someone to follow now. She's a few paces ahead.
Yeah, he's gonna have the look on his face that the old vampire from Underworld had when he realized that, you know, Selena was kissing a werewolf, just like blasphemy. It just walk out.
Like the reference. So when you guys get out into the hall, you see that it's a bigger hallway than it looked like from just where you were. And there's a lot of people out here. There's like 20 people of all sorts. There's not too many more that are in armor. Most of them are just sort of in regular clothes, but a lot of them are carrying sort of just like makeshift weapons. There's two people who are still crouched over by some sort of exposed area in the wall. They're like patching things back up and putting something back up. It's not super clear to you what they're doing. But all of the people quickly move out of the way as Xanthopy approaches so that they're all a good distance from you guys. And every single one of them is wearing a Beckoner medallion around their necks. Not nice and big like Xanthopy's. A lot of these are pretty, they're just bits of metal bent down each other and whatever they can make. But they all are wearing them very openly.
I gotta get me one of those. I don't have a chain. Gotta represent.
And as you're walking, Keening keeps looking back at the Drake while trying to look like she's not looking back. She's sort of acting especially bird-like and kind of hopping around on your shoulder and kind of like looking out the one side eye and twitching around. It's very, she's not especially good at pretending to be a bird, so it's not the most convincing performance. But clearly, whoever this person is has piqued her interest. And so, following the train of all these beckoners, you go down a hallway, and then you make a turn, and then you make a turn, and then you come to a winding staircase, which is tight and steep and winding, and you go up and 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 up, and then you come to a big open room, and you are led towards just sort of a metal wall where everybody has stopped and is sort of forming up as a group. And once you're all up there, and everyone and the Drake is the last one up, Xanthopy will look back, and she'll say, "If you start to feel dizzy, just look at your feet. You might have to sit down. It might help." Then she says, "Go ahead," in Drax, and some other of the beckoners do something out of sight, and the big metal wall just starts moving up, and it kind of rolls up and over on top of you, and you realize there's like tracks it's running up. And looking outside, you see a grassy expanse, well lit with golden sunlight. And you see a little creek, and you see some nice trees, and there are birds chirping around, and there's some wind going by, and it's an utterly lovely day from everything that you can see. And the group of the beckoners just start walking outside onto the grass. What are you guys going to do?
I'm gonna ask is the lady still with us, right?
Yeah, you can ask a question before she steps out. Yeah,
I'm just gonna go, what's with the chains? And I'm gonna point out one of the beckoners' chains that they're wearing, or amulets.
She says, "It's how they show their devotion to the cause."
The cause being the Archon.
Indeed.
And would you presume to be the Archon? Is that what I'm to understand?
She kind of squints and, "Excuse me?"
Are you do you believe in the Archon? Are you the Archon? What is this? I'm forgetting.
I've been called many things in my day, but I don't think I've ever been mistaken for the White Worm, no.
That's not often what she's called by other people outside of the know, correct? If I recall
Correct,
correctly.
yeah.
There's a group of us back home that also brandish that symbol. Are they one and the same?
My understanding is that there are true believers in the cause on every world, though most are not in any sort of communication with each other.
Is this conversation just kind of happening around us?
Before anyone's gone outside, yeah. Or before any of you guys have gone outside, yes.
Yeah. Etienne will look between Xanthopy and Virgil and back again and just kind of like sigh. "What are the tenets of your cause? Can you just speak plainly, Virgil? I don't know why you have to dance around it. What is this cause?"
I wouldn't expect you to understand. He's just going to go, if we're all worshippers of, if we're all believers of Cicadia here, then I see no reason why we can't be more open with each other.
Perhaps we can. As I said, things will be much clearer once you've all seen.
Seen what exactly? This is a lovely garden. Is this the garden?
It will be easier to show you than to explain. And then she walks outside into the sunlight and kind of just spreads her arms, takes it in, and she looks up and closes her eyes and lets the light kind of spread all over her, and she seems to just be like taking it in, sort of just refreshed by everything around her. And again, where you guys are, again, you see like a field of grass, a little river, a little farther away. It's totally picturesque. Couldn't be lovelier.
Casimir shakes off like the numbness that he's feeling on like what is probably the right hand side of his whole face, and just kind of like walks him through to get into the sunlight.
Everybody going through, stepping out.
Yeah.
Okay, so this
Etienne a little more hesitantly, but yeah.
So this is what you see. You are emerging from just a small structure, just an ordinary looking building. I mean, it's square, I mean, and pretty squat. I mean, it's made of metal, but it's just kind of like a big shed. And there's grassland spreading in all directions. And there's a lot of bright light coming from ahead. But as you're looking forward, you see grassland, you see river, you see trees. And then as you look farther, you realize the ground is starting to slope upward. And your eyes keep tracing it. And the farther you look, the more you can see the whole ground curving up and up and up and up and up, until as you squint your eyes past the brightness above you, you can see the as if the ground is continuing to circle up and backward as if to meet that brightness. And that is when you realize you are standing on the inside of a cylinder. And then there is a sudden rush of vertigo. And you all have to make wisdom saves.
Ew. Do we get a bonus for standing by Etienne?
Nope.
Unless
you do it-
you
unless you have
might at this point. Let me look.
I think it
You're
doesn't,
paladin, right?
doesn't it depend?
Yes. Let
Doesn't
me
it depend
see.
on your oaths?
Yeah,
Your
it
oaths?
does.
Are you
Yeah, so while
half
you are
of a
conscious,
Quaker?
you grant all friendly creatures, including you, within a 10-foot radius a +1 bonus to all saving throws.
Nice.
I thought it was your charisma bonus. Dang. All right, here we go.
No, all saving throws +1.
13
Yeah.
then.
16?
A 20, hell yeah.
That is also a 20.
Oh, that was a charisma. Sorry. Let me roll wisdom, actually. It's a 14.
I'm just going to assume that Yvain and I both suffered immensely from vertigo. So,
So the DC was 15.
24.
Who didn't beat
Ugh.
that is getting pretty overwhelmed by vertigo and kind of has to look away, take a knee, sort of take a moment to get perspective. And anyone who, even the ones who pass, it still takes you a minute to really realize where you are, that you are on the inside of a giant cylinder and that there is ground on the inside of this cylinder, so that if you trace it all the way around, you can see it looping all the way back, eventually behind you. And in the middle, there is this long glowing bit. You thought it was sunlight, and it looks like sunlight, but there's no sun. There's, the sun is a. I hope you all know this, but the sun is a big circle thing. This is a long straight bar.
Sun is a deadly laser.
And also, if you look far enough to the left or the right, you can see great big metal, like just covers, like at a certain point where everything kind of comes in together. So the cylinder is closed and you can see either end. And you realize that this whole thing is very long and must be very wide as you sort of like look at how small the trees look on the far side and what you can and can't make out. But suffice it to say, you've never seen anything like this. And part of the sensation of vertigo is the feeling of not being entirely sure what down is. So it's all very disorienting and very unsettling. But as you sort of come to grips with it, you you then start to realize that while where you are at is nice green grass and there's fields, and over here there's a bunch of forest, and over here there's a river, most of the rest of this interior does not look very nice or pleasant at all. Instead, things are overgrown and twisted, and there's giant, it almost looks like pustules the size of city blocks just kind of pulsating off on the far side. And looking around you, you can eventually discern that there is basically a perimeter around where you're standing, going out maybe a few miles at most. And beyond that point, everything is sick and twisted, and inside is the only place where things look like they should look. And kind of watching you all take this in, Xanthopy comes over and says, and just kind of gestures at everything, and says, "You wanted to know what we're doing here? The answer's simple. We're fighting a war, and we're losing." And on that note, we're gonna take a little break.
Jesus Christ.
Woo.
All right. We'll be back. Don't go nowhere. we've returned. Joshua. Wrap us in a story blanket, baby.
Indeed. So it takes a few more minutes for everyone to kind of, for your little brains to process this sudden shift of location to, it's a bit of a shock, but you get there. And once you're sort of back on your feet, the group of the Beckoners have carried on and kept on walking. And Xanthopy and her guards have lingered a bit. And once you're ready to go, she gestures you along, and you walk on for a while. And eventually you come to a village beside this river. And there's quite a few little like huts set up here. It's all pretty humble accommodations, but it rapidly becomes clear that there's maybe 300 people who make their home here, and there's a pretty positive overall air. I mean, there's families here. There's friends seeing each other. People are preparing meals, getting ready. There's a big fire in the center of the village where most people are sort of kind of gathering towards, and it just pretty quickly becomes apparent that this is a community. This is a little town, and before you sort of cross the threshold officially, Xanthopy will stop and stand a little closer and say, "The people take your arrival as a sign. Myself, I've never put much stock in portents, but I also know better than to dampen a boost to morale. They'll celebrate tonight, they'll drink toasts and be merry, and choose to believe your arrival harkens a shift in the winds of this war. I'll reserve my judgment. But in the morning, we can discuss the possibility of, well, you said you were here for the garden. I mean to interrogate that in the morning. And if you intend what I hope you intend, then I think we can do a lot to help each other. But for now, enjoy our hospitality. You're welcome."
Virgil, you hear that? We've been invited to the cookouts, so be on your best behavior.
Oh, right, because I'm the one that causes trouble.
And then at last, she looks at Keening, and she extends a hand, and she says something in that language again. And Keening, still on your shoulder, Yvain, she kind of starts to go off, like she's gonna fly off, and then she stops, and then she says in Drax, "Thank you, I think I'll stay where I am." And Xanthopy says, "Of course, as you like. Good evening." And then she turns and her guards go with her. And the Drake lingers a bit, kind of looks over all of you guys again. I mean, again, it's clear that he doesn't take this seemingly quite as seriously as everyone else. He's a little more laid back about everything. It's just sort of, spend a little time studying each of you. It's not entirely clear. Is he measuring you up as a threat? Is he judging you as potential allies? Is he looking to go to bed with you? It's super clear from what his review is, but he is looking at all of you for a bit and kind of judging after a while. And then he just says, someone offers you anything to drink, it's quite rude to say no, but I'd still be careful how much hospitality you accept. They brew it strong here. And then he kind of, he claps Etienne hard on the shoulder, and then just walks away into the camp.
When he turns around and walks away, I look at my hand for a second there because I'm still nervous about us being here. I'm going to try one more time to cast Prestidigitation. And I want to etch the word douche on the back of this guy's armor in Drax, or whatever the equivalent to douche is.
Yeah. You want a word that means hygiene product. Yeah. It works.
It works here.
Mm-hmm.
After he does it, kind of smirks to himself, and then sighs exasperated and falls on Virgil's shoulder and puts his head down. We didn't have access to magic till just this second.
Keening will say, probably since you left the portal room, there'd be a lot of interference in there, and part of the mechanism involved dampeners. It's
So-
necessary.
We're still on the construct then.
The gardens, aye.
Hmm.
I'm surprised to see them as whole as they are. All of that, she kind of gestures her wings at all the corrupted bits. Notwithstanding, I kind of expected these damn things to fall out of the sky, truth be told.
Where do they get their... What magic supports them up here? Perhaps they're far enough out of range of the spires of Ismene to not be affected.
Are you asking why they don't fall?
Aye.
Just ask the question, why does Ismene? It's the same answer. Why does Ismene not fall into the arms of her mother? Why does Vicatrix not fall into Ashura? As I understand it, it's fundamentally a question of speed, but that's never really my area.
Huh.
Suffice it to say, things keep to their proper spheres. Always in motion, but always in their place. The real question you might want to be asking yourself is how come our feet stick to here and not there, or there, or there?
Oh, please don't look up. Please don't make me look up again. I'm not going to do that. No, I'm just going to fall straight on the ground, wall, ceiling. I don't know what it is.
It spins, she says. That's what keeps us here. Because it spins. Sounds crazy, I know. I never really understood it either, but it's true. The whole thing spins, and it keeps us stuck to the inside, as it were.
It sounds made up. What if I were to jump?
After trekking through a dried up ocean and everything else you've seen, this is what strains credulity.
We all have our limits, Keening. This is my line in the sand. What if I were to jump? Would I be thrown because of
She
the
says,
spinning?
she looks at you and sort of very sternly stares and says, I wouldn't recommend it.
You're right. It wouldn't be wise unless I could fly. Who do we know that can fly? Virgil, do you know anyone that can fly?
I can. Oh, you're alluding to me. Yes, I can. I'm not going to do a science experiment.
No, but you've already used your flight for the day, no? We need someone who's more reliable, who's a natural flyer.
Oh, you mean the bird that was conveniently silent during all of that?
J-
Doing a little
what-
bird act?
Keening, you fly? Tremendous. Experiment time, and I'm just gonna like boop her up into the air.
Okay.
How
So this is
hard
what
does she
happens.
hold on to Cass's hand?
No, she does get flicked and go into the air. But Cass, it is as if someone slapped you hard in the face, even though nobody touched you.
Okay.
But it's smack.
Sure.
And then she flies over a bit and comes and lands back on Yvain's other shoulder and just glares at you.
Just, oh, ooh. I deserve that. See, it's fine. I told you it sounded made up.
I want to cut away for just a second. I know this Drake kind of headed off into the crowd. I think before, like, as this conversation's happening, Etienne's watching this Drake step away. He probably would have stepped from this to follow.
Sure.
And called out to the Drake. Before you be leaving, perhaps, would you mind a few questions? As he tries to kind of catch up to him.
So he doesn't immediately stop. He kind of like slows one step at a time as if it's this great imposition.
Mm-hmm.
And then he turns and looks back. Says, "Oh, I suppose."
I hate to be putting you out with such bothering trifles as your name.
Gave you my name.
Did you? Miss Xanthopes, certainly.
I said, "Call me Memory."
Ah, I see. It was hard to ascertain if that was coming from you or the walls themselves. And Etienne will put his hand out to shake Memory's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Does he take it at all?
He kind of looks at it. That used to mean something different. And he takes your hand and he shakes it. He's got a good, strong grip.
I would ask what that meant, but I don't want to be burning your goodwill.
No, it's a
Two are married.
little point wondering about days long, long past.
Indeed. I understand that much will be clear tomorrow when we talk with Miss Xanthopy. But I'm wondering... and he'll kind of look back towards Virgil and the party and then at Memory.
Mm-hmm.
Are you called something? Your group, your peoples?
Well, there have been suggestions, and they're all a little self-important for my taste. I mean, these people are beckoners, that much should be plain. And Xanthopy is their leader. For me, I'm here for her. I leave the religion to, well, I won't say better swords, but others, I suppose.
Is it her ideals that call to you?
No, indeed. I had my fill of ideals and ideology long, long ago. I'm quite satisfied at this point to offer my services to a good woman, a good reader, who cares about her people and wants to do what's right.
I empathize with the feeling. Quite strongly, in fact. There are too many large ideas. I'm just trying to get a grip on any single one of them.
He's kind of looking over you again and making note now of the different heraldric signs and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And he steps closer and he speaks softer and he says, "Tell me, when you knelt in the dark and swore upon the stone, did it speak back?"
Etienne will get kind of like a little grin on his face. To be honest, Memory, I wasn't really listening, just waiting for the feeling of power.
He kind of chuckles. Says, "Good man."
Sometimes you need what needs. You need to ask for a favor to do what needs to be done. Nah? Chasing after ideals, I suppose.
I suppose that's true. Look, I don't
I
want
won't-
to keep you from your people. And
I appreciate that, Memory.
truth be told, I'm a little hungry. Like,
Any
as you s-
recommendations you'd make as Etienne kind of turns to like go back to the party?
Well, the gift meat is divine.
Etienne will raise a blonde brow and like cock his head to the side. I've heard this term before, mate, and it didn't sound all that appealing nor look that way to me.
Well, I can't speak to the culinary achievements of any others, but well, let's just say we want for much here in this little community of ours, but no one ever goes hungry.
A better place than most, then. And he'll do a curt little bow and start heading back to the party over his shoulder. Perhaps a drink next time, Memory, to regale these ideals. And without waiting for a response, we'll
Mhm.
go back to the party arguing about jumping up and down and who should be the one to fly.
As you're going, you hear his voice in your head, and it says, "Tell your feathered friend, I know where she left her sword."
The only indication that he's heard that would be him kind of flexing his hand
Mhm.
before balling it into a fist as he continues back to the party.
And if anyone's looking, Memory will just kind of walk off and then quickly turn down another way and kind of disappear behind a hut. He's out of sight. Meanwhile, the bird argument continues. Funny how we seem to get one of those every session.
Perhaps it's a physics thing. Maybe if we need to launch you higher, perhaps you'd reach escape velocity for the spinning, right?
I am down to
I
see
don't
this
think
experiment
Casimir knows what
happen.
escape velocity means.
That's not what it's true to fact. That's not what escape velocity is.
My
Amy will
concern is
just
that
say,
if she goes
You've
to
all got bigger things to worry about than how you might terrorize me or whatever.
You mean
Whatever
like,
this place is, it has gift meat. So
great,
oh, come on.
lovely.
that should be
Goddamn
something we all take note of.
Okay, wonderful.
More like re-gift meat. Keep sending it to different places. I hope they kept a receipt.
Keening will say, I take it you've all had a good look at this place.
I understand it's beyond my understanding, if that's what you mean, Caning.
Doesn't take a great understanding to see that the ground we're standing on is one way and most of this place is another. Considering those things you fought.
My guess is that things are not how they should be, or at least not the way that we're accustomed to beyond this area. And perhaps it spawns these great beings of destruction, how they are removing themselves from here and landing on Ismene. I don't understand. It's an invading force.
Well, that would be the void ships, plain enough. That part's not
Nice.
difficult.
But where
But I
do they
wonder,
dock?
Even from on the exterior, there are places for it. It's, I suppose you could call it a port of sorts. It's
Hmm.
usually they would use the same maritime terminology as I recall. As I say, it was never really my area. But I wonder, now that you're here, curious if any of you could guess what the purpose of this place was. Why it was made.
You mean it wasn't intended to grow Bacne in the lawn?
Well, no, certainly it wasn't built to have the kind of corruption that the gardener has brought to this place.
Uh-huh.
This is a solution for Ismini not being like this anymore.
Interesting guess, but Ismini was. Well, this place was built long before the desolation came to poor Ismini.
Why don't you tell us?
Where's the fun in that? I don't suppose you could guess who made it, or upon whose orders it was made.
I'd assume it's the Archon, given that the people up here worship this being. No?
Absolutely correct.
And
It's
perhaps this was kept as a way to some sort of glorified place above the rest of civilization. Beings have a way of doing that, you know.
You're half right. This whole grand structure is a vast and glorious testament to her deep insecurities.
Insecurities.
You've got one more, Katie.
What?
She always aspired to be more than she was.
A fire and arrow.
Okay, roll an attack.
Is Keening still on Yvain's shoulder?
Oh my
Oh, yeah.
god.
Great.
So,
Cool.
That's a 25.
25. Okay. The arrow is going dead on. It's going to hit her right there. And then it doesn't. It hits an invisible nothing and the arrow breaks.
That was a warning shot.
Please don't do that again. Yvain is already extremely pale, but she goes like another, like, more translucent shade of white. Just, if you have a falling out with my friend, please ensure that they are not 3 inches away from my face.
I'm
Please,
telling
thank you.
I am a master archer. I can't.
I believe you.
I can't hit you on accident, even if I wanted to.
But what if
So
I moved on accident?
I would take that into account last second.
Okay. Please, still. Even then, even if you continue to have a squalor with my friend here, please, just don't. Just don't. Please. I can continue to ask. I know it's not going to yield anything, but please, for the love of the gods, stop shooting arrows. Those in your party, including the bird on my shoulder.
That bird is not in my party.
She's in mine.
While this is happening, and they're kind of going back and forth, Etienne would try to make eye contact with Keening as much as possible. Then kind of like a head nod, and quietly in Elvish, say the phrase, "I'd be wished to speak into you later."
She looks back at you and answers in Elvish. About?
Etienne will turn and look the way that Memory went, and then back at Keening, trying not to draw very much attention, given that like there's a cover of a back and forth going on.
Mm-hmm. And she'll just kind of nod. Sort of very slightly. And then she'll turn back to everyone else and say, "It's terribly simple. She was the ruler of worlds, whole great spheres that had been shaped and remade by those who came before her. She couldn't stand the fact that they'd so obviously exceeded her, so she tried to make a world of her own. Now we stand inside of it, and her hand-picked caretaker is destroying the whole damned thing. It's a wonderful microcosm of her entire misshapen administration."
I'm going to see if there's anyone here that has any sort of lumber I need to make arrows. Yeah, and he says that just glaring at the bird as he walks off.
Keenan just kind of looks back, unperturbed. Looks a little smug. But you know, like bird smug.
I'm gonna eat that bird before this game is over.
Oh, you keep saying that.
I'm gonna eat that bird whole.
Gift meat.
That is the
Speaking
true
of
gift
which, so lots of people have congregated in the center of the village now, and the big fire has been stoked even higher, and there is a person standing beside it with a staff, and this person kind of digs the staff into the ground and kind of twists it and is moving their other arm around. And a bunch of other people are setting up like big spits that have nothing on them. And as this person continues to do their sort of ministrations, all of a sudden just big giant hunks of meat form on the spits. People start turning them, and suddenly there's just like a tremendous amount of it. And then meanwhile, there's people that are setting up long tables, and they're just setting up like empty earthenware bowls. And this person then walks over and just with sort of one hand on the staff, one hand loose, just kind of waving over each bowl. And each bowl just fills up. One fills up with just like fruit and vegetables and berries, and a bunch of them fill up with like fresh baked rolls. And it takes a few minutes. By the time they're done, this person is looking pretty tired. But there is just a giant feast, and a bunch of people, and people just keep gathering, and it seems that the only thing that anyone is bringing themselves is drink. People are bringing like barrels and flagons and cups and you know, wine sacks and wine skins. That's the word, not a wine sack. I guess that could still work. Whatever. And in short order, it's a party. People are making food. People are eating and drinking. A couple people have some instruments. They start playing music. People are dancing. It's a mighty fine shindig.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a Fletcher or someone with any sort of lumber.
What you do spot is you spot a person who is dressed in a lot of like leather and in with like bits of like natural growth kind of on them. It's kind of you haven't seen anything like it initially, but then you kind of put together like, oh, it must be like camouflage, it's like natural surroundings, like that's the intent of it. And this person has a very nice bow on their back and a bunch of arrows, and they get a bunch of food and go over to the person where the person with the staff, when they were done, like went over and sat down and just kind of like slumped over, very tired. This second person gets a bunch of food and drink and goes over and sits with that person, and then they start eating together. But the second one has a super nice bow. In fact, remind me what kind of bow you have?
I have Acquire, which is the name of his +1 longbow.
Okay. The bow this person has is at least as nice as yours, maybe nicer. Hard to tell from a distance.
Don't steal. I'm just gonna walk over to this person and go, I hate to trouble you, but do you know where I might be able to acquire some arrows for myself? It's been a long journey here, and I'm down to my last 3, and I have a companion that might require all 3.
So up close, you can see that these two women are both wood elves, and they kind of look at each other, sort of and look back up at you, and look over, and Xanthopy is over in one spot, and she kind of gives a gesture, and then the one with the staff. looks over her shoulder, and she just kind of gestures, all a bunch of hand signals, and then someone comes over and brings you 2 quivers full of very fine arrows. Each quiver has 40 arrows each.
Oh, now we're in business. What do I owe? What are you required?
They look a little confused, and then they say, "Those who need receive." That's how we do things here.
Is that right? I don't know that I might be able to trouble anybody for any wine.
The woman with the bow says, "Well, that you should have no trouble getting there. They'll be handing it out. Stop pretty much anyone who looks like they're having a good time. They'll be happy to share."
Oh, and last issue here.
And each time they're like, start to eat and then stop. Keep asking them questions.
That is a mighty fine bow. Might I ask where you acquired it?
She kind of reflexively like puts a hand to it and says, "It's been mine a long time."
Well, all right. I'll leave you all to it. Thank you so much.
And they sort of say, "Good evening."
Me. I'm gonna walk back to the party and make a show of how many arrows I have and just keep glaring at that goddamn bird.
So very shortly, people are kind of a little bit sheepishly walking up to you and offering all of you drinks, as if they're sort of unsure what to make of you, or they're a little intimidated by you, but they also seem pretty eager to like show this sign of generosity and hospitality to you. So they will in short order, you will all be offered flagons of some kind of mead, it seems like.
To put it gently, Virgil will get fucked up.
Well, they make it very strong, so it doesn't take much. But it's also very sweet, so it's hard to tell how strong it is. So indeed, Virgil gets hella drunk.
Yeah, that feels right.
And eats a whole bunch of gift meat.
Now hold on. No, I'm just kidding. After 2 or 3 drinks, he probably is going hard on that gift meat.
People freely cut it off the big conjured chunks in the middle, and it tastes pretty good.
Can we avoid saying conjured chunks ever again? Or I'm gonna conjure chunks
Oh no.
all over my keyboard.
No. Etienne would probably, like, if there's seating available near the party,
There is.
he would just, through the extent of the night, would pull up a chair and look like he's nursing a glass of mead or wine. Just like, no, don't do what you're doing. I know what you're doing, but you need to stop. And would look as if he were taking drinks every once in a while, but he wouldn't be drinking. And then he would just be keeping an eye on the rest of the party, seeing who takes, like, Xanthopy told us that we were going to be some figures of note, given some kind of prophecy, but trying to keep an eye out for anyone who seems overly interested or interested in a weird way. Just very Aragorn in the corner of a tavern kind of vibes.
Sure. And you will notice there are definitely people who are like, there are some people who are just like staring at you guys like wide-eyed, like, oh my god, I can't believe they're here. Whoa. And then there are also people that are just like having a good time and hardly even notice you. It's kind of, and then just sort of all the spectrum in between. What about the other two of you guys?
I think Cass is gonna be a little out of place, I guess. Like, half the time his magic works, half the time it doesn't. He just had a stroke, like 2 minutes ago.
Cardiac arrest, but yeah.
Yeah. So he's like unsure what to make of like the weird juxtaposition of like threatening invisible monsters, creatures that are being created out of an engine, and the tiny utopian little community that's here in the garden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot.
And then his thoughts move to whether or not we're going to have to kill our way out, given that we're here to retrieve something of, importance. Well, potentially. We have to bring the sword of the Archon out of this place. So we don't know if that's relevant or not.
Incorrect.
Well, you said it was here. Aren't both items here? One's the one that we have to bring back to the Wisdoms. One is the one that Virgil has to bring back.
So you were told that the book that you're supposed to be reclaiming was somewhere near the last resting place of the Archon. Or, sorry, no. Blah, blah, blah. Somewhere near the sword of the Archon. There we go. Forgetting my own lore for a second. And yeah, so you're supposed to be getting a book, and you were also told, I forget if it was in Blossom or by the Drakes, that the book was in like the gardener's library, and it was implied that you needed to like get to where the dude himself is to get that book, that you're trying to steal something from out of his library. And you were told that the elder folks in Blossom told you that you needed to destroy the gardener. That's him doing, bad things to all of Ismany. So the sword has been mentioned, but it is strictly speaking incidental to your assigned task.
Right. Well, there's still the weird little happy community here on Nightmare Island, and no, sir, I don't like it.
There are people playing music.
Damn it.
That might seem kind of familiar to you.
I'll be right back. Cass will wander off for a minute.
I would like to see if I can find anyone wearing the Beckoner chain.
They're all wearing the marks.
In that case, I'm gonna walk over to one of them and ask, "Where did you get that chain, and where might I be able to acquire such a trinket?"
The person you ask kind of sort of touches it and reflexively and says, "Everybody makes their own, of course. It's our symbol to forge and our symbol to wear."
Back home, the Beckoners, from there, we don't have much, so we have to wear ours differently. And he shows the tattoo. Might I be instructed on how to create a trinket like yours?
It's just a bit of metal working.
Can you tell me where I might be able to go do that?
Yeah, this person's looking around and sort of like, you'd be looking for, and they point you over in a direction, saying that, over there, that's one of our smiths. I'll just point you over towards someone.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go over to that smith and ask him. I would very much like to make a chain of my own, as I'm discovering it's the custom. Might I have access to your forge?
And he will say, "Well, do you know how to operate one?"
Let Let me take a look at my proficiencies. Forgery is not gonna cut it. So,
Forgery.
you see my joke there. But I am proficient at lying. Um,
We'll say, because if you don't know, I'd be happy to help you make one if you're in need of it.
then I would require your assistance.
Okay, you go off with this person and you spend a few hours making one of these things for yourself. It's
Heck yeah.
pretty cheap, but it's yours. What is Yvain doing during this great big old party?
I think she's doing a couple things. Checking in with Keening, first of all.
Mhm.
Make sure that Keening's doing okay, and then like ask about the weird. I'll just talk to her. For a moment there, you almost flew over to Xanthopy. Like you almost didn't give it a second thought, but then you hesitated. What was that about?
She takes kind of a significant breath and says, she and her guardian have been speaking the salt tongue, which was the trader's tongue where I'm from, way back. It's not quite the same dialect. I can tell it's changed a bit, but it's a piece of a home I haven't been to in a very long time.
So it was familiar, and you wanted to immerse yourself in that. Is that right?
From the moment you released me, I resigned myself in short order to the fact that everything I knew was long gone, and I would never see any of it ever again. And that horrible wisdom started speaking things that were terribly, painfully familiar. Now it seems the farther we go, the more reminders of all I've lost are thrust in front of me. Whether I want them to be there or not.
It has to be hard, especially after, making such a concession to leave all that behind, lest it just keep you downtrodden. I am sorry about that, for the constant reminders. Does it not give you even the slightest bit of hope at all?
Oh, I'm much too old for hope. That bit of me was cut out long ago.
What's replaced it?
Once upon a time, it was filled with my devoted service, the Archon of the Outer Worlds. These days, I haven't a clue. Maybe nothing. Maybe it's just empty now.
Hopefully you can find something that can take its place, that doesn't quite mimic hope, because I know that's can be futile in certain situations, and if it doesn't service you anymore, then why use it? But perhaps there's something that can fill that void. I don't know what, but
Well,
something.
That makes two of us. I haven't the damnedest idea either.
Perhaps we can work on that.
Have you considered that you're meant to be invading this place? Getting a book somewhere. It's kind of big.
I realize that. She tries to not look up, but kind of at the same time just
Yeah.
listen, we're on a very strange sort of a quest here that I've not really resigned myself to it. It's still a bit topsy-turvy. Very much like this. God damn it, I can't look up. I am still here for the right reasons, I think. Hopefully, having you here grounds me in that.
Well, whatever happens, keep your head down. I just hope these
Gladly.
people aren't as hopeless as they very well might be. Xanthopy says they're losing. I think that's the truest thing she said to us since the moment we got here.
That is good insight.
If you can muster the stomach a moment to look, and she kind of gestures towards a spot way in the far. You seem to be kind of towards one end of the cylinder, and she gestures to a spot way on the other end, sort of a quarter rotation up, and she says, I think that's where the gardener's coming from, and I suspect that's where we need to go.
Yvain will kind of like sit down on the ground to literally ground herself and grab a fistful of the grass, and only then start to look up. And if she starts to like feel like that vertigo is happening, she'll just lay back completely to then just try and tilt her head to look that way.
Yeah.
So that something is holding onto her entirely, so that she feels even remotely comfortable looking at this. Okay.
Between us and that, presumably there are thousands of those things that you all had to fight, and which almost killed you. So,
Oh, happy days.
one thing we can be certain of, those wisdoms must not have had the damnedest idea what they were sending you into. I mean, callousness is one thing, but this is futility. Just a waste of resources.
I mean, unless they did, right? I'm riding between two lines on this. Either they didn't know and this is all completely foreign to them, or they did and they are hoping that we are stupid enough to go into something like this, to bring something back that's going to give them some sort of an edge. I don't know. I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, it's a good question. I suppose it is my natural instinct to assume that self-important figures of authority are rather less than they present themselves to be. But that might be my baggage.
Well, that package is welcome. It provides a different perspective.
Have you noticed that person who was preparing the feast? I think she's a world speaker like you.
Really?
Oh, aye. Though I think she's closer to the old way of it.
Huh. Might have to have a conversation then.
A child of Abazagain, I'd wager. Maybe Shan, but I think she's more a burning soul.
Definitely warrants a conversation then. Thank you for being my eyes when I am oblivious.
Thanks for always giving me a firm shoulder.
Well, I have too. You get your choice.
And yeah, the party's gonna kind of go on. People will celebrate, and some people get kind of raucous. Some people just kind of hang out. The light is constant the whole time. It's just bright. It just seems to be constantly always bright. But after a while, people eventually start like turning in and going to sleep.
Before that, I'd like to know more about these musicians that we saw.
There's a half dozen of them, and they're playing music. There's a couple fiddles and a couple fifes, and they're just having a grand old time. People are
Now,
dancing.
are these just like community folks who like happen to have a fucking guitar laying around and they're like playing camp counselor, or are these people who look,
Are you asking if they're bards?
yeah, like if they're collectors of at least like stories, like they've got a look about them, you know?
So, anyways,
Yeah.
here's Wonderwall.
So no, you don't get the impression that they're bards. You get the impression that they're just people who play music.
Oh. I'll still try to exchange stories with them then. I'd like to know like how they got here, where they came from, what their lives were before this, and in exchange I'll teach them song Our Son Arson's Arsine Arson and Parson Carson's Incarceration Assertion.
No, I feel like I've just had a stroke. What is happening right now?
Yeah, so they will freely tell you that all of them, that they all found Xanthopy when they lived somewhere else, and they lived at a place that was dying. They said they say they come from the burning sea, and they followed Xanthopy because she promised to take them to a new land, and that they eventually went through a portal and ended up here, only to discover they couldn't get back. And that seemed okay for a while, but then they realized something was very wrong in this place, and the wrongness was coming nearer, seems to be drawn to their presence, and well, now they're stuck in a losing existential war against a force of fundamental corruption. They're remarkably chipper for how dark everything they're saying is.
Sure, okay. The portal that they came through, did they not ride through some sort of cart like we did?
They don't describe anything like that. They describe finding an underground place and finding a metal circle that filled with light that they went through, and they emerged into a dark room, and then they found their way eventually into this place. So it sounds to you like they didn't travel there. They just went into one of these stations like you arrived at, and then they went through and popped out, and bing, bang, boom.
And do any of them have the sense of how long they've been here?
One of them says it has been 10 years, 3 months, and 4 days.
10
And you
years,
can
3
tell it's
months,
not
4 days.
it's not a guess, it's an exact figure.
Right then.
So that's how the party goes along. And while there are people that go back to sleep, plenty of people just kind of like lay out bedrolls and sleep outside. And some people just bring bedrolls around for all of you guys to take and use. And, you make what sleeping arrangements you want to make. And then eventually, at some point, right on time, mini Chris, because let us not forget that Chris has now been shrunk down and is now a small-sized creature, lets out his little high-pitched whistle to greet the new day.
Before that, like it's sometime in the night when everyone else has gone to sleep.
Oh, right, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I think Etienne would have stirred from wherever it was he was keeping
Mhm.
watch and softly called out for Keening, again in Elvish.
And by that point, she comes over and just sort of perches in the side of a tent. Just looks at you.
I know that you keep parts of your life to yourself and that there's reason for it. I trust you with this. But do you know who this memory is? Does that Drake anything to you? And again, this is all in Elvish.
Mhm. I can tell you what he used to be, and I can tell you with a fair degree of certainty what sort of person he used to be. But I question how useful any of that information you'll find.
I mean,
Yes.
what was he anything to you, Caning, as a person?
I've never met him before.
He claimed to have knowledge. He said he knew where your sword was lost.
What did he say exactly?
My notes are, tell your bird I know where she left her sword.
Well, I think he's rather cruel to twist a knife like that.
What does it mean, Caning? And can I help you?
Let's just say I've served a few masters in my time. All of them have long ago turned to dust. He brings this up because it amuses him to do so.
So this sword was a person then?
In a manner of speaking.
I'm sorry to hear. And I apologize for bringing these words of discomfort to you. I thought only that perhaps it was some sort of, well, and he kind of grins, perhaps a moment of reclaiming rather than more loss. I should have known better.
Well, that is the foundational irony of your chosen profession. There
So it
really isn't
seems.
that much to reclaim in the end.
Well, we'll see about that. It's not over until it's over.
Indeed.
That's all I had for you, Keenan.
I bid you good evening.
And he'll quietly go back to his watch till the morning time, and the mini screams.
Mini Chris does his shriek. And as Mini Chris does his shriek, we're going to take a quick little break.
Whew. Okay. I'm tense and I'm noodling and I think I've stumbled onto something funny, but true. So I'm gonna discuss off camera for a minute. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Oh, I'm tired of these naysayers.
I'm not coming out. It's not safe.
It's not.
It's not
Oh,
safe.
Lord.
Whole lot of
To-
nincompoops in this.
To peel back the kimono for a second. In previous sessions, I have had a giant written on a piece of paper in big letters TOS that I would have to throw up for exactly one member here. Like, hey buddy. And of course I was like, and it had been a couple weeks, I'm like, it'll be fine when you want, threw it away, and then
This is what happens, Josh. This is on you.
Oh,
I'm just
God.
saying, fleeing from the law it's not a confession to another crime. It's all I'm saying.
I'll just say this: you never asked the name of that blacksmith, nor what he looked like. And I'm just saying,
It's O'Shea my blacksmith.
I'm just saying, he had a very particular name, and he looked kind of familiar.
I'm.
And he had trouble getting his gloves on. Anyway, so it's the morning. Chris has done his shrill thing. People are getting up, and the mood here has changed completely. So, like last night, everyone was partying, having a good time. Now everyone is in super serious mode. People are like putting on armor. They're getting weapons ready. Some people are gathering in groups and like bowing down together and quietly praying. And like stuff is serious. And as everyone sort of rouses and gets ready for the day, Xanthopy will come over without her guards and approach the group of you and say, let's take a little walk.
Alright. Seems simple enough. We can do that.
And she's going to lead down towards the creek, little river here. And when you get down there, there's two people already there. It's the two wood elf women from earlier. And they are both sort of knelt beside the stream. And the one with the staff is actually standing. I keep calling it a stream, a creek. It's a river. And she's kind of waded into the river. And she is cupping her hands with water and raising it and then kind of bringing it up and letting a few drops drop onto the forehead of the other woman, the woman with the bow. And then the woman with the bow does the same thing back towards the woman with the staff. And then they both kind of just step out and stand beside the river and look at the rest of you guys with Xanthopy turning the river's behind her, and then she faces all of you and she says, so, what do you think about our little community?
I like it. Look, I find that I find myself in agreement with most of them. Fine arrows, nice jewelry, good
I noticed
drink.
that.
How long do you think it can last?
Well, that is the uncomfortable question, isn't it? We have better days and we have worse ones. And depending which of the one we have more of, we might have years, we might have weeks. I've never gotten the impression that the gardener thinks of us as a particular threat. If we were, we would have been stamped out long ago. The spread of corruption through this place has always seemed somewhat incidental. It's a consequence of his actions. It's not, he doesn't terribly much care if he takes over every bit of this hollowed out engine. He wants the worlds.
Can you tell us more about this gardener? I admit the limit of our understanding is near. We understand that he was a tool of the Archon at one point in time, intended for purpose, but has strayed from that for our own selfish ends. Is that accurate?
The best as we understand things, and most of this comes from fragments of things we found written down here, a good chunk of it from memory, what he can recall, which is just as fragmented as what we can find here. But when the Archon still ruled these worlds, she was great and powerful, but of course she couldn't be everywhere. She couldn't do everything. She empowered all sorts of servants to administer things and take care of her assorted creations and dominions. She had governors, she had bureaucrats, she had the glaives who carried out her will most directly. And she also had these caretakers, individuals who were empowered and trained in the fine arts of etheric engineering and shaping, and who kept the engines and the other assorted devices functioning. As far as I know, in the wake of her disappearance, most of them kept at their jobs as well as they could. Most of them had to adapt in one way or another. Gardner, whoever he was before, decided he wasn't content with upkeep, maintenance, doing the same thing he'd done so many times before. He decided to do something new, and the fruits of that newness, well, just look to the horizon and notice how it moves. We don't know exactly what his designs are, but they don't seem difficult to discern in outline. He wants to spread this corruption to the worlds. Whatever this foulness touches, whatever monstrosities it births forth, and what it does to the poor bastards who fall to it, they're all slaves to his will. It seems abundantly clear he means to spread a shadow of pestilence over the worlds, out of which they'll never emerge. She points to that thing that Keening was indicating towards Yvain earlier, this structure that is far away and in the distance, and you can sort of, as you sort of try to gather just how far away it is and get a sense of scale, you realize that it's huge. It's like this huge fortress, and it looks to be like a giant structure made of really dark black stone, over which is all this like growth, and as you said, like big parts of it are like moving and pulsating, and you can tell that movement even at this great a distance, which gives again an indication of the scale. And she says, that's where the man himself makes his abode. And the solution, if you can call it that, to this little problem has been obvious from the start. Cut off the head, everything else dies. It's just a question, fundamentally, of getting there.
Sounds simple enough. Find him, kill him, and call it a day.
You said you had purposes for the gardener here. I wonder what those might be.
It's as you said. He intends to corrupt the world below. It's our intention to stop him, as
So
well as
Go ahead.
reclaim an item that he has conceivably within reach.
What sort of item, if I can ask?
A book of sorts.
be a wonder if his ministrations have not rotted out the pages, but from what we know of the fortress he now occupies, there was once a rather well-stocked and large library. But you mean to see this terror removed from the worlds? You would strike down this gardener if you could.
I
She kind of looks at you all a long moment. I judge you speak truth. Well, we've known our situation was hopeless for some time. There were some who hoped when you came through a portal that perhaps the way might stay open and we could flee, but plainly you're as trapped here as we are. As I say, the inevitability of our situation has been plain for some time. We are approaching the point where we won't have enough uncorrupted ground left to feed ourselves. Lachesis can conjure us a feast, but we can't rely on her indefinitely. So we've already been preparing for a strike of sorts, well, I won't try to call it anything other than what it is. It's a desperate last chance. But perhaps, if you're capable enough to find your way here and cut your way through whatever horrors might have been in between you and here, maybe you've got a better shot at it than we do. We know in the corrupted lands where a portal can be opened. We know how to open that portal. We know it leads to a nexus, a place where a great many portals can be opened. We have discerned that it is the nature of this place that while the passageways that leave can be barred, the doors that enter can never be sealed. So our proposal is that you and Lachesis and Eris over there, and she gestures at the two wood elves, will discreetly make your way across and through the corrupted lands to this way station, descend into its bowels, activate the portal, and depart. We can say little about the nexus where you will arrive, but our divinations are clear. It there remains, caught between water and ice, but it is there. It is some sort of... The visions are cloudy in this regard. It is a remnant of something. It is a place of storage or veneration, possibly. What is certain is that it contains a portal that can be aimed and directed, and which can deposit you in the middle of the Gardener's Fortress, where you could, Archon willing, strike down this creature and save the worlds. And my people, not to put too fine a point on it. Of course, the only way this quite insane plan works is if someone provides a diversion. That's where my people and I will come in. We'll make a damn fine racket. We'll attack, draw their eye, you sneak in. I don't claim it's a good plan. It's the only way forward I can see. Short of that, you can just lie down and die.
Well, I think you have all our agreement that we're more than willing to help with this, but There is a question, and it is a selfish one that I have to ask. So I'm hoping that you might be able to help me. Have you heard mention of the Sword of the Archon?
Only from memory when he gets very drunk. I'm not sure what it was exactly, but he's apparently not fond of it. I don't know what a sword exactly can do to engender a grudge, but there seems to be one.
And who is this person that's telling these tales?
Memory, he's
The Drake.
Yes.
Your best friend.
genuine glaive in the flesh. Although I wouldn't use that word around him. He's not fond of it.
Wonderful. You gonna tell me? Yeah. After that, Virgil just sits back and watches.
But I hear you right. You agree to our plan.
Yeah.
I'm not objecting. I just didn't expect you to jump on board quite so readily.
Well, I'm one of you. You're one of me. Figure. Can't trust another beckoner. Who can I trust?
Although I notice you're the only one among your group who bears the sign.
I don't hang around with a lot of smart people.
Etienne spits.
I'm not going to hold that against you, promise.
I meant it more for some than others. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was mainly talking about your bird.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Fuck your bird.
Ugh.
On that subject, Xanthopy says, I'm terribly curious where you managed to acquire an ether falcon. I didn't think any of them remained. Certainly their masters are all long gone.
As far as I understand, that is correct, yes.
She looks at Keening and says something in that language again. And Keening just kind of stiffens and responds in Drax and says, I have nothing to say to you. I go where they go. That's the beginning and the end of it. Xanthopy sort of just kind of nods slowly. As you like it.
I have never been so in want of the copperhead language spell.
I have a question
Mm-hmm.
because I know Sarah the player knows, but I want to check what Etienne knows.
Mm-hmm.
The folks that stopped us in the woods, it was pretty clear that they were beckoners.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think they even
has-
called themselves beckoners.
yeah, and Virgil, you shared that you were looking for the Sword of the Archon
Mm-hmm.
for those beckoners.
Yeah. Well, I didn't share that. That's why I'm doing it. I just asked about
But he
it.
did say he wanted it, yeah.
Okay. Because Sarah has a question of why would beckoners on Earth know about the Sword of the Archon and like want it, and these beckoners seemingly are just kind of like, or yeah, on Ismini, they're like, hey, we want this, but these beckoners up here are like, I mean, one guy knows something about it, but he's pretty ambivalent towards it. That feels weird to me, the player, but I don't think my character
Mhm.
has enough to put those pieces together.
Well, as you just heard, he's not just some guy.
He's a glaive, sure, but like it's that thing of like why is that though? Why is that though? Did the beckoner chapters have like different like, so you want to be a beckoner manuals? Like what's the deal?
Listen, I don't tell you about our onboarding process.
Well, I would just say, consider that you've met two groups of people who call themselves beckoners and seem to profess the same creed. But you have no indication that those groups have ever met each other or spoken to each
Yeah.
other, even
They're
though they
10
don't
years.
exist. So they just might know different things.
Right. And then seemingly conceivably they're from two totally different places. Like I don't know where this burning sea is or wherever the heck these guys all came from up onto this place.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to know if that would ping in Etienne's mind of like, wait a minute, like.
I don't think it would. Yeah.
And that's what I was checking to see how much Etienne knew. Because Sarah is like, that
Right.
don't make no sense.
Etienne also doesn't know that the reason the first group of Ekners even knew about the Sword of the Archon is because Virgil said it.
Right. Mhm.
So, and he said, we're going to this place.
That's
Sword of
right.
the
That's
Archon,"
right.
And they said, we'll bring it back. And that's how the fight was avoided.
Yep. I'm tracking now. Thank you.
Remember that time I saved all of us from fighting?
And
Yeah, I was gonna
Sorry,
wreck that.
yeah.
I was gonna wreck that guy.
Man, I want to clap back so bad, but I'm not allowed to share this theory yet.
Settle down.
Settle down.
Settle down.
Xanthopy says, well, my people are preparing. If you are ready to depart, you can begin your journey.
Yeah, I just before we head off, is there any chance I might be able to grab Memory's ear for a hot second?
You can find him in camp.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. You guys get ready for the adventure. I just need a couple of minutes.
Are you sure you wouldn't rather go with someone who's better at talking to people?
I'm great at talking with people. People fucking love me.
You're an acquired taste. You like.
Etienne spits again.
You got a problem, Camel?
Xanthopy looks at you when you says that and kind of does that staring thing she's done before. And then she goes, oh, I see. And then she sort of gestures and says, well, you might also want to consider getting to know Eris and Lachesis since you'll be traveling together. But if nothing else, I will return to my people to ensure they are ready for what is to come. However this goes, not all of them will be coming home. And she kind of nods to all of you and walks back towards camp. And the two wood elves walk a little nearer. And just standing there and looking you over. And then Lachesis, who is the staff lady, looks at Yvain, walks up, and kind of dips her head down and says in Druidic, daughter of the earth dreams, I greet you. I am Lachesis of the eternal flame.
Can I get the spelling for both of these in the Discord, please?
Mm-hmm. And you would know, so the people who taught you druid stuff, what you would know is that there used to be, the way the way druidic stuff used to work
Druish.
is that
God damn it.
druidism? I don't know. The way it used to work is that druids didn't just have a connection to the world or to nature, but to their world, the world on which they lived. And so you, as someone from Ismene, would have been attuned to Ismene, and a druid who came from another world would have been attuned to another world. And Keening said to you she thought Lachesis seemed like a druid from a Bazagane, which you now know from the orrery up in the portal room, is another one of the daughters of Vicatrix, because of Bazagane, Enora, Ismene, Shan. So it seemed you put together that she is identifying herself as coming from this other world and belonging to a when the druids that you studied under gave you the impression that there used to be this grand craft of druidry, that there was this. You always had the impression that what you were learning was an attempt to reconstruct something that had been lost, and that even the greatest druids alive today never really got there. That the different circles were different attempts. It was like there was an assumption that, well, the full picture that we used to have was so big and we've lost so much of it, that what you ought to do is pick one piece and spend your life focusing on just that piece. So there's like, the druids of the moon who do all the shape changing stuff, and then the druids of the land who pick the individual specific areas and focus on it, the druids of the stars, and all the different, circles that are described in all the rule books. But there was always this assumption that there was like a greater, like fuller art that is now lost, where instead of your circle, it was like a world, as if like the circle of Ismene or the circle of Abazagain. And you gather that that's at least what she's gesturing toward in the way that she addresses addresses you and addresses herself.
Okay. I think even knowing all of that, Yvain might be like caught off guard a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And try to reply, I'm really sorry, I don't know how to say it back appropriately. But what do you specialize under? Is it everything or just one fragment? Because I'm a bit of a fragmented sort of learner.
She kind of just blinks. And she says, are you not a daughter of Ismene?
I am, but a lot was lost over time. I'm a daughter of Ismene, but also one that looks up at the stars, specifically.
It sounds to me like you can't quite make up your mind. Are you a child of Ismene or a child of Asherah? I didn't think we had any of the latter left. My expectation of the folk of Ismene is that they would be singers of the stone songs, dreamers of the earth dreams, speakers of the beast tongue, and wearers of the bramble crown.
I apologize, that is all very foreign.
I'd be very interested to hear what your education was then. It sounds like the customs of your gatherings have changed. I suppose isn't surprising.
It was
considering
minimal.
the state of the worlds.
Yes, especially Ismene. There's not much in our ways there. It's all very secretive and elusive to the rest of Eudaimon or Whitefall.
Whitefall.
Yeah, Whitefall. No one really leaves the city, which makes it hard to study that sort of thing, to give back to the world and allow the world to give to us.
She steps closer and puts a hand on your shoulder. And she says, "That's so sad. What are you? Do you go to the outer edges of the city and press yourself against them, hoping to feel some bit of the unblemished world beyond those feet of stone?" And in truth, what she's describing is kind of how you learn. Like, basically, druids go as far to the outside as they can, and then mostly they like dig tunnels, and then just kind of have like underground burrows to get as close to like real nature as they can.
It is like you have described my upbringing in the most sallow of senses. Just all of this is very foreign. What we've seen since leaving the city has been an eye-opener. only things that I have dreamt about and thought about and been taught about, but I know there's a
She-
massive disconnect there, and it's very saddening indeed.
She sets her staff on the ground and kind of gets down on all fours and touches the ground and kind of gestures for you to do the same. She's literally asking you to touch grass.
Happily.
and she sort of, she kind of presses her hands to the ground and says, "This place is very strange. It's so much younger and newer. The worlds were not always as they are. They were shaped by the ancient ones long ago. The worlds themselves are timeless and ageless, as without beginning or end as the stars themselves. This place was made in, well, at least some living memory. Memory's memory, as it happens. But there's still life here. There's still wholeness. There's still what we serve, what we dedicate ourselves towards. You'll find it here, even if it's not immediately apparent. There's still the wind, there's still the soil, there's still the water. It's a different kind of wholeness, but it's here. And it can be as firm a foundation as a world beneath your feet. And she's kind of like making stronger gestures towards the ground, kind of like pressing her hands into the grass. And as she's doing this, Eris kind of crouches down beside her and looks at her with sort of a mix of kind of amusement, a little, sort of as if this is all maybe a little much, but also she's not, it's not mocking as such, but there's a degree of like, this is a little overboard. And Lakisa says, "You're going to be thrown all about in short order, so it'll be good to get used to finding your footing once you get somewhere unfamiliar."
Been doing my best with that this entire expedition. Having to acclimate so quickly is disorienting, especially here. Oh god, I cannot look up. But all the same, I am attempting to soak it in best I can.
Eris kind of chuckles at that and looks as well and says, "Yeah, that view's a real bitch, isn't it?" Then she kind of leans over and she kind of puts an arm around Lachesis and kind of gives her a side hug and says, "She means well, but I don't know, all this mysticism I think is a little, maybe it can be a little much." And then Lachesis kind of leans over and kind of gives her a good-natured little shove, and then they stand up and, say, "Well, meant to be companions for a time. I just hope you're good at killing those things, even with the bulk of their forces drawn away. We're like to still run into a lot of them. Have you had to fight them before?" And Eris kind of looks at the stains that are still on some of your clothes and goes, "Oh, I think they've had at least a run-in or two."
It was not great, admittedly, but we have encountered them before, and as it should be noted, we're all very quick learners. We kind of have to be in this sort of sense, being thrust out into a world that is a skeleton of what it once was, trying to navigate our way to here, I suppose.
Eris says, "Can you describe the sorts you've faced before? They come in all shapes and sizes, after all."
They do, yes. Some were massive and brute-like, some were very small and act like a swarm.
How big were these big ones? I mean,
Imagine this wide, but about 3 times the size, perhaps.
Wow. Came up against the Lord in your first encounter. That's no small feat if you manage to stay in one piece afterwards. Those little buggers, those would be the swarmers, latched onto you, exploded.
Yes,
Yes, charming,
Unpleasant.
charming fellows.
yes.
Well, you'll also have to worry about. Oh well, there's the disciples and the prophets. Those are the ones that carry staves. They're all sorts of fun. Very good at spreading the corruption.
Mhm.
There's ones that are good at sneaking. Call them hunters mostly. There's ones with shields. Ones with big, heavy, nasty weapons. Most common of all are the poor bastards who've been corrupted. Don't really have a name for them. They're just, well, they just sort of shamble about, and there's often a damn sight lot of them. Hopefully the resistance we face will be minimal, but don't worry. If it's thick, we're well practiced at fighting them back.
Do you have any advice or tips or anything that you can pass to myself or my companions, as we've only faced them the once?
Shoot the leaders first. You don't
Got
want
it.
those. You don't want those ones with the staff doing what they can. Although it's tricky. The shield bearers are very good with their shields. Even my arrows get knocked out of the sky.
Well, they haven't seen Virgil then. He's very good at what he does as well. So, at least we have that.
But truly, there's nothing too special about them. They're big and they're very tough, and it takes a lot of punishment to bring them down. So,
Mhm.
whatever you can do that puts out the most hurt, that's usually your best option.
Sounds like a plan.
And Virgil, there was mention of you wanting to go find a certain Drake individual.
Yep.
So you're heading back to camp?
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm as soon as I find him, I'm just gonna try and pull him aside.
So you find him pretty quickly. He's standing. They're near the remnants of the fire from the night before. And there's a group of maybe like 20, 30 people. And they're all sitting on the ground, and he is telling them a war story. And he is talking about a time that he got dropped in to some place where some wizard's experiment had gone awry and people had been corrupted and turned into these crazed attackers, and he had to organize this group of panicked town people into a shield wall so they could hold the line long enough for him to take down the wizard. And seems like the main focus of his story is on those townspeople and how they were, how they stood, and held the line against fearful odds and protected their homes, and how because of that he was able to win the day. I mean, it's pretty clearly the kind of story he's telling them, right? He's
Yeah.
giving them a pre-battle speech.
I think Virgil's just gonna go. Is this before or after you broke your oath to the Archon?
And he stops and looks back at you. Because I never broke my oath. The bitch just disappeared. And then he turns back and he's gonna go finish his story.
I just want to know, because you might have more experience with this. Is there a glaive that isn't disappointing?
Stops the story again, looks back. He says, that's the thing with old blades. They rust.
How about the sword of the Archon?
If that's any more than ash, I'd be shocked at this point. If there's anything left to find of it.
I heard it left you sour.
Only one of us is still standing here. And he goes back to his story.
I like this guy.
So unless anyone else has any other, camp business they want to attend to,
I'm gonna wait till he's done with the story, and then I'm gonna try to approach him again.
okay, the story finishes in a couple minutes. And everyone he's talking to looks like they look encouraged and pumped up, and they go out and ready. And he's kind of like telling them words of encouragement. I mean, he ends by talking about how, like, he says the enemy we're going up against is fearsome. They're, they don't know fear. They're these inhuman monsters. They're horrors like we've never seen. That we will hold the line. We will stand together, and that will see us through. It's the classic pre-battle speech of acknowledging the fearsomeness of the enemy, but then focusing on all of us will stand together, and
Yeah.
we will see the dawn.
After he's done, I'm gonna walk up and
Mhm.
go. I sorry to give you a hard time. Not really, but what can you tell me of the sword of the Archon? Other than its ash.
Of all the blades fair Acadia ever forged, I think none ever disappointed her quite so much as that one.
Rumor is it's still around.
Well, I certainly haven't had a sighting in quite some time, but that's not unusual. I'm just one person. Only see what I see.
Well, that's all I need to know from you. It's just what it looks like. I'll take it from there.
Good fortune to you.
Does
And then he
happen-
turns and
Oh, I was just gonna ask, does he give a description at all
of,
of the sword of the Archon, what it looks like?
he says, "It's been so long I couldn't rightly say. The
What
Archon was terribly predictable in her tastes. Everything she doted upon always looked the same. Every world had this copy of the same palace. Every void ship was the same inside. She liked uniformity, that one.
What happened to all of you that made you all so bitter?
It's a good question. My best guess, we've lived too long."
Well, somebody might correct that today. And he just walks off.
And he says, "Not before I take a few of them down with me. No, more than a few." And then he walks off and joins the rest of the fighting force. And then you go back and meet up with everybody hanging out by the riverside. And Lakeisha says, if there's any observances you'd like to make or preparations you'd like to do, now is the time. Otherwise, we can prepare. We have quite a ways to cover.
If at all possible, Cass would have liked to have followed Virgil, but stayed out of sight until he was done talking to Memory.
Okay. You can do that. It will be a stealth.
Ode.
And Virgil, that will be your perception.
Okay. Oh, buddy.
Fuck. 7.
It's really
7, yeah. So partway there, you knock over a bunch of supplies and make a bunch of noise, and Memory looks right at you, and Virgil also sees you there.
I think when I walk away from Memory, I'm just gonna look over at Cass and go, charm the pants right off him.
Yeah.
Not wearing any trousers, it's true.
Cass, when he gets discovered, is just gonna make eye contact from wherever he's standing, just kind of wave and then walk away until he's behind something. Make it look like he left.
Yeah, but Virgil's gonna walk over to Cass after all that's said. Just yeah, I got exactly what I wanted out of him.
So I heard. Congratulations.
Not really. It's strange finding out that the one thing that you believe in, it may not be at all true.
Well, at the very least, now you know how Yvain and Etienne feel.
Vain, I understand. Etienne, the jury's still out. Still worried that one day I might have to put that one down.
Well, good luck with that. At the very least, Etienne's better friends with his memory than you are with yours. I'll be right back. I need to prod our friend here. Now that you've
What?
softened him up.
You can catch him up.
So like I'll scurry over to him and I'll real quick because this has been brought up in front of all of us about Keening's sword.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier you mentioned that
Actually, no, it has not been brought up in front of all of you. It was he said it just to Etienne. Etienne said it just to Keening.
Oh, I thought
In
we
the
were all
dark
there.
of night.
Well, then I can't do this.
You don't know shit about no swords.
Redacted.
But you can still catch him up and ask him questions you
I
want.
this is the only question I had for him. I got nothing, so I never did this in the first place.
Good luck, I guess.
No, I have a fix for this.
You have
I have a
scales.
fix for this.
Bye.
Okay.
When Virgil and Cass rejoin the group,
Mhm.
did Virgil say anything about what he went and did? Anything like that?
Sorry.
Okay. No, you're okay. You're okay.
I
That's
would.
perfect.
I would tell everything. I would be like, he went to piss off memory.
Etienne would kind of tilt his head to the side and say, "Did he say anything cryptic to you then?"
Oh man, it's some cryptic nonsense. Another failed warrior trying to explain them walking away from their oath.
Their version of the story is that she walked away from them.
Casimir, would you mind?
Hmm?
Just a word.
Sure.
And Etienne would kind of grin at Virgil in like that really discomforting kind of way before going off a little ways.
Mhm.
Probably further than he would with anyone else because he knows that Virgil's got a good ear. And kind of turn and look at Casimir and wait a couple of seconds. I'm mostly doing it to make him uncomfortable, you know. Make him
Oh.
feel like I know something he doesn't.
Sure. Oh, well, hold on then. And he'll glance one more in Virgil's direction, like put his arm on Etienne's shoulder and like turn away and give
I
him
would
a look
to make
like
a self check.
and take like one more big step away.
I would like to make a self check.
Go ahead.
Keeping secrets from me, eh? That's just a 50.
I don't know if I can beat.
You can beat a 15.
It'd be
I
my
can't not on
passive.
perception.
It'd be my passive because I'm not looking for you. I wouldn't. Think
No, this
you'd
is better.
sneak up.
Yeah, this is better. Were you able to hear what memory told Virgil?
Sure. I was doing a shit job at being stealthy, so I got
That's
a little
all
close.
right. Memory mentioned something about knowing where Keening's sword was.
No, that wasn't the
Right.
that wasn't the sword in discussion. Keening has a
Right.
sword?
It's not clear. Memory said that to tell the bird he knew where she left her sword.
Ah.
Find it interesting that we find ourselves looking for two in a world of weapons.
Right. Well, we didn't ask him, but if it's Keening's, perhaps we should ask.
I don't
Find out
think
where
there's
it
any.
is.
I don't think there's any point in pushing Memory further. If he wanted to tell, he would. He seems a blunt sort of fellow.
You say that, but you weren't there for Virgil's conversation. Virgil has a way of leading you down the stone-walled canal he wants you down. It kind of leaves little wiggle room to go off detours. He
I think-
antagonized the shit out of him.
I know the feeling, but I don't think it's productive to necessarily go back. You see, I wasn't any prompting that had Memory tell me this. He just did. So if he's not telling you now, it must not be tied. Either way, at least now 2 of us know. Should anything happen.
Have you told Keening about this?
Go for it, Nor.
I was just gonna have Virgil go. When you said the 2 of us know, and have him just be much closer than he was before. If that's okay with y'all.
Yeah, that's totally
Poking
fine.
out behind a tree.
Oh.
And Etienne will just turn and look at Virgil with an eyebrow raised.
Virgil will wink and then head back.
I should have known better, but what do you think of all this, Cass?
I think Virgil's track record with the glaives is shit. Which is not what I would have expected, to be honest.
I mean, I'm sorry. I mean all of this.
It's hard to make sense of it all. There's a lot of untied knots, a lot of threads to follow. I'm still of the mind that no one here has the right answer. I'm still not keen on the idea that we are governed by one with knowledge above all else. I think if something were right for a community, they would ask the community. No one seems to be asking.
And you feel prepared?
Hell no. I'm certainly gonna die. In fact, if it wasn't for this little trinket, he'll wave his periapt around. If it weren't for this little trinket, I'd probably be dead already.
Well.
But he's hoping I stumble into a safe pocket in the middle of the fray.
I won't make any promises. But if you stay behind me, I might do my best to make a pocket large enough.
Oh, gee. You getting soft on me, Etienne?
That's my secret. I've always been soft. He taps your shoulder.
Oh, fuck.
And kind of
He's just, ow.
yeah, and that like camaraderie, like roll his eyes kind of way, and kind of pushes you back towards the group.
When you guys walk into the group, you just see Virgil
Heavy
giving you one of
hand.
these like, my ears are everywhere.
Virgil,
Oh.
Etienne will just very loudly when you like do that kind of eyes things. You missed the best part about me and your mom. Before like going over and picking up his bag.
You know her? Because I never done it.
We grew up in an orphanage.
Tell her, fuck you for dropping me off. That's probably how he would respond.
Jesus Christ. You never answered my question, Etienne.
While Lachesis and Eris are just looking at each other like, these people,
You never answered my question. Did you ever mention this to Keening about her, about his sword?
No, I don't recall that I did.
Did you think you should ask her if she wants it back?
I think with caning, it's best to leave it be.
If you say so. Letting her keep her little secrets seems counterproductive to me. And if
Etienne
there's
shrugs.
a story there, the selfish part of me wants to hear it.
He shrugs again and gathers his items together. You'll get a story. Don't worry about it.
Just gonna pat Cass on the back and go, the only thing I want from Keating is to be served with barbecue sauce.
So back by the riverside,
Oh dear.
two things are happening. One, Keening says to Yvain, you know, this plan isn't half as terrible as I thought it'd be. I mean,
You
we're probably all
expect
going
it
to
to be.
die, but it actually could work at least.
Sure.
And meanwhile, Lachesis and Eris have been gathering twigs and leaves and dirt, and they are just packing it all onto Chris until he's like covered in all sorts of dirt and grass and branches and has a little
Oh,
overhead.
they gave him a little armor. He's got a little armor board suit now.
And then when you all come back, Lachesis will say, it's time we were on our way. If you'll all take one of these, and Eris walks down and hands all of you just a stick off a tree. He stops and looks at Keening and look back, and Lachesis says, if you could hop away and just keep some distance for a second, we will be on our way. Don't worry, we'll take a break and then we will be able to speak again. But while we're traveling, you won't be. So if you'd all just hold on tight, this is going to feel a little weird. And she lifts up her staff, and there is a rush of wind all around, swirling around you guys. There's a weird sort of trembling beneath your feet. And then very quickly and with a very pronounced popping sound, you all turn into birds,
Hell yeah.
including Chris, who turns into an especially large and heavy bird. And
What kind of birds?
geese.
Oh, fuck off.
You
What is?
turn in-
Which one is Chris?
You all turn into gooses. Whereas Chris is like just a straight up albatross. It's just a huge bird.
Yes.
And then one of the geese honks, and two of them take flight, and you just sort of instinctively take flight behind them. Keening joins in, just still as a bird, you fly off towards the horizon as birds. And that is going to be the end of this session.
Suck it.
And I think we're back in 2 weeks.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
the
finally
21st.
happened. Virgil has become what he hates the most.
And just and as a little, taste of things to come.
Oh.
This was episode 7, The Worlds Are Hers.
Mm-hmm.
Next time is episode 8, The Sword of the Archon.
Oh my god. Is that happening?
Man, I feel like this was quite the milestone.
Every
God
time.
damn it, Noir. Every goddamn
feel like
time.
I've
I fucking love you.
Cross the threshold.
I love you.
stepped on another milestone.
If I could give you a big ol' hug right now, I would.
Did we
I feel just a little bit stronger, a little bit faster.
trip, stumble, and fall across a milestone? Is that what just happened?
I feel a little more experienced, if you know what I mean.
I feel like we really took it up another level.
Level.
Ugh.
Amazing. I'm already demeriting my own points, Josh. It's okay.
Would you say that it's
10.
out of 10? That was-
Rocks fall.
Just so we're clear, no.
Just so
I
we're
make
very
no
clear. Absolutely not.
You know, you miss all the shots you don't take.
Bro, it's so true. This is a good session. I'm excited. I feel like we have so many pieces of the puzzle. We just they're not all flipped to the picture side, if that makes sense. So like
Mhm.
we've got a bunch of pieces and we're kind of like all turning them over to see, or we can't find the lid of the box, maybe, you know what I mean? So we can't see the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just, we're slowly getting there.
Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna get that bird.
Gonna get that bird. I'm gonna laugh my ass off when Keening ends up being like the thing that needs to be in order for like the Archon to return, and
Thanks.
Virgil like wrecked that bird shit in some kind of way and making it impossible for the Archon to return. Like that to me would just be hilarious in
You
all
know
of
what?
the ways.
Deep down in his soul, Virgil would be like, it's worth it.
It's
Did I-
fine. It'll be all right.
Did I just did I just fail my entire order and give away the purpose for which I was born? Yes, but
It's
I got
only
to,
everything I ever believed in, but
but I got
The
to kill that
fuck
fucking bird.
settled a grudge.
Virgil to me is like, he's like a Rolling Stones fan who only likes Mick Jagger and goes around spitting in Keith Richards' face. He just cannot
Listen,
meet a glaive that likes him.
I'm playing him as a simp for the art.
I love it. I'm here for it.
Like, oh, you got something bad to say? Then I guess it's fuck you forever. Then.
Fuck you forever.
And a day.
We will never be friends again.
Fuck out.
I swear on your mother, the Archon herself.
Very
Oh,
good.
fuck. Why don't we circle round the final circle? Noir,
Mm-hmm.
where can they find you harassing other fake characters in made-up universes?
Hi, I'm Noir. You can find me all over the internet as the Noir Enigma. That's Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Hive. Please check out my website, thenoirenigma.com. I have merch there. I could use this time to talk about all the projects that I do, like the podcast that I'm on with my sibling, Dungeons and Dragons, and how it's coming out with a new episode next week. But I'd rather spend this time to really discuss whether one OJ is in fact.
And that's my turn. Hi, hello. I'm Osiris Franco. I played Etienne Durand. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, all the places. Tumblr now all the places at Osera X Franco. I do a variety of TTRPG content here on Bright's channel and across several other amazing communities. The next time you can see me doing the thing is going to be over on Plus One EXP with my co-cult leader Keegan as we do our next episode of Character Study. We're joined by the incredible Ostermad, where we will walk through creating a character with her and getting to know more about her in the space. So come check that out. That's going to be tomorrow. And new year, new stuff, all on the books. So keep an eye out. We got a lot of exciting things coming on for the cult. And with that, I will say nothing that could be taken as offensive or controversial. The end.
Sure.
Speaking of controversial, the LAPD has an agenda. I'm sorry.
Speaking of California, Ash, why don't you tell us?
Yay! The segue.
Hey. That was actually a good segue. Hey, everybody. I'm Ash. I go by Ash Rabbit here on Twitch and all over the internet. As far as, next time you can see me doing cool TTRPG stuff, tomorrow, actually, over on Dat Magic Juice's channel for the continuation of Tenements of the Great Rift, which is a post-Princes of the Apocalypse, now fully homebrew territory. We are level 17. We are in endgame territory. It's ridiculous, and very cool, and very good people in that game. So please feel free to come check that out. I think we're starting a little bit late tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So come check that out. And then in 2 weeks over here, for more of the Reclaimers. We'll also have, the return of Against the Tide sometime this month. We're still figuring out scheduling stuff. Be on the lookout for the socials and announcements for that sort of thing in the next few days. Cool, that's my turn.
Josh.
I'm Josh. That's it.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I'll use the rest of Josh's time to really kind of go into the case of what O.J. Simpson in the closet.
We're experiencing technical difficulty. So sorry to waste your time.
Fleeing the police is not an admission of guilt to another crime. Johnny Cocker said, if the glove does not fit, you must quit. I believe that there is racial bias in the arrest of one O.J. Simpson.
My favorite part about this bit is that whoever's watching this on YouTube is just getting all of this content back to back to back to back to back and not recognizing that there's like months in time between these different bits where Noir is just like, this is the fight I'm
One
fighting.
of these days, I'm going to download
right
them all
now.
again and supercut them into like a big
Please
OJ rant.
do.
I swear to God.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Trying to say, every time a black man is famous, they suddenly start committing crimes? I don't think so. I think they're working to bring them down.
Oh my god.
The thoughts and opinions of Dwar Enigma are those of Dwar Enigma alone. He does not represent the views and opinions of Bright Dystopia.
I can tell you, me and Bright have long discussions about how the reputation of O.J.
Thank you for joining us. Stay strange. Don't be a stranger. Bye.